you mentioned, the opportunity that's available to us right now. It's
Yeah.
like we could have that sort of indie renaissance,
Yeah.
that indie sort of revival. And the people that you mentioned, that makes me think of like, well, who's going to be the Roger Corman? Who's going to be the
Yeah.
person who is the incubator for all those
Yeah.
incredible talents? And I think about, if we look at, all the companies that have come out in the last couple of years, it's like, okay, taxis are no more. It's Uber, right?
Yep.
Restaurants are really mostly just DoorDash now, or
Yep.
whatever it may be. And so, like, not to completely change our, we saw movies growing up. We wanted to have the same thing always, but like, how is that going to change now that like A24 is still working? Like
Yeah.
there's
They are.
they met all the requirements. They're still using SAG actors. How can other people sort of take that into consideration? We don't need studios to have our own distribution platform. We
No.
can literally create it right now. Over the next week, we could design one,
No. You could.
And so, like, I just want to see people like Roger Corman come forward, cultivate those talents. It's like, okay, choose from these cinematographers that are here, choose from these artists that are over here,
Yeah.
and this is the distribution platform, and this is how we're going to promote you, and this is how you're going to get a piece of the pie, because we don't need these middlemen that don't really do jack,
Yeah.
that just add notes because they think that's somehow keeping their job
Everybody
alive.
has to have a voice, and they want to feel important.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when Ridley Scott was told that he needed to have words in the Gladiator soundtrack. He's like, "Get out of here! Like, we don't need you." It's like, that's a useless note.
Yeah. That's just not a note. That's
Yeah,
just asinine. It's
yeah.
what it is.
So I just, I see, your skill set, and I see like, oh, this is so primed for like an indie revival.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get that Roger Corman type person to create a incubator where you can keep working with studios like A24, or
Yeah.
maybe even your own studio,
Sure.
you know? Um, and just, I know that artist equity is like a new thing that where they're trying to create everybody getting a
Yeah.
piece of the pie, which is great.
That's the thing with Damon and Ben Affleck, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. That was cool. For they did that for Air, and we need more of that.
I think it's solid because everybody that's involved, they have the incentive to make it the best film ever, and then to market it as well.
Sure.
I've been on film sets where it's like people are just showing up and they're like, this is gonna go straight to DVD. Even it's like a great film. I think Edgar Wright had a joke about that, where like
Yeah.
he was shooting like Shaun of the Dead, and somebody didn't know that he was the director and was like, oh, this is going straight to DVD, you know.
Wow.
And so it's like, we need people to show up on set who are like, this is gonna help me get a house. This is gonna help me send my kid to college or whatever.
No, exactly. You got to give them incentive
Yeah.
to come to work. But I hope there's, excuse me, more A24s out there, more artist collective, because yeah, I mean, I've worked for a lot of those companies that I would love to just destroy them on here right now, but I'll just shut up. But
No, 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 that's important.
you know,
Like for the people out there that are building these new revival studios,
yeah,
what would you be looking for that would be like, that I'm going to go work for these, with these people, not for these people. I'm going to go work with these people
yeah,
because they do these things. So
yeah,
what are the pros and what are the red flags?
yeah. I mean, they're yeah. All right. So one, I don't care talking about because they're despicable human beings. It's EFO is Emmett Furler Films, which is Randall Emmett and
Oh
George
yeah, yeah,
Furler.
yeah.
I mean, those guys are just I thought going in, I did 9 movies with those guys,
Hmm.
and I looked at their films, and not when I got called to do a film, which was it was initially called Bus 657, but then they changed it to Heist,
Hmm.
which that was a dumb marketing decision because David Mamet made a movie called Heist, so
Yeah.
it's gonna get lost in the shovel. But anyway, it had Robert De Niro, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Gina Carano, Dave Bautista, Morris Chestnut, D.B. Sweeney, and Mark Paul Gosselaar. Pretty
Huge.
cool
Yeah.
cast. Made it in 2014, and it was my first sort of bigger movie. Working with those type of stars, and I had watched some of their previous films, and I said, okay, Those are good.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to make this better. I know how to
Mm-hmm.
make it bigger looking. I know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just um, it was a 19-day shoot, which is crazy
Yeah,
for an
that's
action
fast.
movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially when you're dealing with like, bigger names.
yeah, and like we had De Niro for 4 days. Dave was running a show. Jeffrey Dean Morgan was running a show. Gina was running a show. Morris Chestnut had, I think, a week or something, and Mark Paul Gosselaar came in for 2 weeks or whatever. So yeah, scheduling that. Um, that after that whole experience, we did everything. I wrote a letter to these guys, and I said I had a great experience. It was tough, but we got through it. And I wrote this detailed, really nice letter to George, saying, um, listen, this is a great experience. You guys have something here. You can be the Blumhouse of action movies. Because
Mm.
I'd worked for Jason. I've worked for Jason Blum, and I've came in, and they were in a pickle, and I came and did some pickup work for them, and they were very grateful, and I was grateful for that. And Jason's got a formula, and it
Mm-hmm.
works,
Mm-hmm.
and it's successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, having worked for them, I told Randall and George, you could if we could just get a couple more days, like 25, the way Jason does his movies,
Mm-hmm.
properly budget them. Don't just take a budget from another movie and throw it on this movie. Um, Give us a little bit more money to get some gear, so we're not basically trying to, MacGyver stuff. And that was it. And I did it in the nicest way possible. Well, you would have thought I told George and Randall everything under the earth about what their mother
Oh, wow.
can go, where they can go, and all that stuff. I got the most heinous letter from George saying, "You don't tell us how to make movies. We've made 98 movies, and you can go blah 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 and all this. Stick it where the sun doesn't shine." And I was like, "Okay, all right. Well, I guess I'm not going to work for these guys again." But of course, they called me again, and um, when I got on set the second time, I saw Randall. I tried to say, "Hey, what's going on?" He wouldn't talk to me. But Bruce Willis was talking to me because I'd worked with him before, and that bothered him because he wants to be the center of attention, and he's got short man syndrome, so whatever. And he 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 came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, I after I tried to say hi to him again, he wouldn't, and I just said, dude, what is your fucking problem?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he pulled me aside, and I didn't care at that point because I was just like, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, that letter." I said, "You're kidding me?" He said, "How did I offend you with that letter? I'm trying to help you, man." And so, we buried the hatch. But then, as I progressed with those guys, every movie became, they would say, "Oh, it's 20 days," and then when the reality is, it's 16 days. The next one, it's 15 days. The
It's
next one, it's
insane.
14 days. And I'd had it with that because I work with the director. I work with 7 times, Stephen C. Miller. I've done 7 movies with him, and Stephen and I every time we're like, "Oh, we're gonna make this one better. Oh, we're gonna get more days," and they just kept taking days away because they would take that extra money and put it in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part. This is where I'm going with all this. That's the part where I don't like the film business. These guys say they want to make a good movie. They really want to make money.
Of course.
And I understand you have to make money
Mm-hmm.
when you're spending money, but man, make a good product and the money will come. Pay
Absolutely.
your people
Yeah.
right. Don't strain them. Don't put them under stresses. Don't put your friends in the movie. Don't try to get your oh, I got to get my friend a SAG card or this. Just pick the right people. Make a good movie because we all want to make a good movie. Pay them right and take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening was, I mean, Steven and I made these guys a lot of money. I mean, we changed the way their movies looked, and they were on cloud. Randall was flying private jets, doing this, and we'd have these budgets, and they'd say it's 20 days, and it's 15 days, and well, where's that money going? It's going in his pocket. It's going to his cars. It's going to this. So the moral of the story is stay away from scumbags like that.